Welcome in, everyone. It's Tuesday night. It's time for the Bama Standard, your favorite show covering Alabama content out there. And it looks like, folks, Pettey, we survived Pavi Mania over the weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about that at some point, but it is Missouri, folks. We're back on the road, headed up north, and we got quite the contest on our hands. Hey, before we get started, I need a few favors from everyone in the audience. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're in the live chat, let's get rowdy tonight. If you got questions, post them. I'm going to pin them, and then the Q&A segment, I will bring them up. So that'll be your time to shine, and we never hold back here from a podcast standpoint or from the audience standpoint. So I expect you to be on your A game tonight. I'm Justin Riley, your host, and with me on time, as always, the living legend of the Strip in Tuscaloosa, the illustrious Daniel Pettey. What is going on, Pettey?
Man, just glad to be here tonight. Man, it's not double agent, Keith. I was at the South Florida game wearing green just Friday night. I'm now a triple agent, Holmes. And just glad to be here. Sorry, Marvin is late. They had a sale on extra small shirts at Baby Gap that he could not miss, and he said he would get here as soon as he bought all the small black shirts he wears for each episode.
Yeah, so there is a enormous BOGO going on right now over there just outside of Atlanta at the Lenox Mall. So if you need to find him, go get him there and tell him to get on the podcast. He's late.
Yeah,
where are these divas, man?
Tiny muscles.
But listen, you know all about Alabama, folks. We bring it to you every single week. But when we got an opponent, we had to go the extra mile. We had to bring someone who actually understands what that team is all about, who can truly bring you the heartbeat of that team. So that's what we did. To really understand what Alabama's up against this week, we're bringing in one of the most plugged-in voices on the Missouri Tigers, Gabe De Arman, publisher of PowerMizzou.com. Gabe's been following this team all season long, and he's got the inside scoop on what makes this Missouri squad so dangerous. He also dabbles a little bit in 247 sports, but either way, we got one of the leaders in Missouri football. Welcome in for the first time to Bama Standard, Gabe. Glad to have you here, brother.
Appreciate you guys having me. Every time I go on a new podcast, like the intros are so nice, I just want to hire everybody as an agent and say, can you just you do my Twitter bio and stuff and market me a little bit?
Well, and you deserve it, man. You've earned those stripes. We wouldn't have asked you on. Like I said, I've followed you for years. If you haven't followed this guy, he is absolutely not just the voice of Missouri. He is an absolute professional, and so we're glad to have you in, Gabe. So yeah, well, if you do, we are for hire. Justin grew up in the WWF world, so he is prime time intro machine.
Look, you can never have enough hype men on your side, so right. I might hit you up.
I wasn't sure if I should go full WWE first because I wouldn't know how you react. However, seeing that you embrace that kind of thing, next time we have you on, I'm going all out, just full warning there.
Fair enough. I'll be ready for next time Missouri and Alabama play, which could be next year and could be 2039. Who knows the way they do these schedules.
We could meet in the SEC championship this year. You never know, man. It happened last year, rematches. So, and the way this league is, you really never know what's going to happen until it's completely done. All the teams are played, schedules are done, and it's right in front of you for sure.
It's anybody's game right now.
I do SEC power rankings every week, and the first 10 are just I don't know, throw them all in a hat. I have absolutely no I legitimately think there's 8 teams that should feel like they have a chance to win this league right now.
Absolutely. And in this new era, everybody has warts. You can't just look at Georgia or Alabama anymore and say, well, it's those two guys, and then maybe we can play for that third spot or whatever. I mean, you look at those two teams and even Alabama now, okay, now it's look at this line. The line's 2.5 this weekend. This is the new world that, Bama would go up there just 4 or 5 years ago, and the line be 12.5, 13. So it just, yeah, man, it's buckle up time in the SEC for the fans, which, I know the Bama fans don't like it, but I think everybody else is kind of enjoying it.
Well, that's the deal. This league, I mean, the middle and the bottom are better than they used to be, right? Mm-hmm. But the biggest part of it is the top is worse. the guys that used to sit on Bama and Georgia's second and third string, Missouri's got 2 kids from Georgia playing the defensive line who have more pressures than Georgia's entire defense does this season because they weren't playing the way they wanted to at Georgia. So they said, yeah, Eli's got some money. I'll go up to Columbia. I'll be a starter. I'll play a lot of snaps. And, so now those kids that were sitting down there just kind of waiting their turn aren't waiting their turn anymore. And I'm sure everybody watching this podcast hates it. Everybody that follows my stuff loves it. Like, I think it's way better. I think it's great that 8 teams think they have a chance to win this rather than, I grew up when Missouri was in the Big 8 and it was like, you had your team in the Big 8, but you also had to like either Oklahoma or Nebraska because they were the only ones that were ever going to win it. So you had to pick one of those.
Right. Yeah. Wow. The old Big 8 days.
I don't like the way it is now. I used to enjoy joyless murder ball. Now every week it's like I went in a time warp back to the old Jefferson Pilot sports days, and every week it's a battle, and you just eat your way through, and your anxiety's through the roof, and you have to find some way to kind of level off once it's all done. But yeah, no doubt. Every week is literally a war, and you can't look at records anymore. Screw records, right? Mm-hmm. Texas, Florida this past week. Texas should have run out of the stadium. Not happening, right? So, yeah, every week.
UCLA, Penn State.
Cool.
Well, even that one still shouldn't have happened, but yeah.
There's no way it should have happened.
Right. But it's the world we're in. That is the world we're in with this college football. The whole any given Saturday kind of went away for a while, and it really has come back. And again, there's certain players where, like you said it, Gabe, there's 8 teams, and there's programs that the glass ceilings changed. There used to be a ceiling for the Missouris, the Ole Misses. Tennessee had fallen out of it. Now that, with Heupel, the one right hire, and they're back in the mix. There's a lot of mirror programs that are using this era in a way to their advantage. And, Bama's about to go find one out tomorrow, like you said, that goes and finds the backup. I just made fun of Penn State. They may wish and I didn't understand it. I was at the Ole Miss Penn State game, and all this Drew Allar love, I never got it. I wanted the people to keep telling me. And then here you go, Drinkwitz goes and steals their backup, who turns out looks to me like the better player.
There are a lot of Penn State fans. Like one of our message board's favorite things is to go to the Penn State board every week and find the thread that's like, we kept the wrong quarterback. Now, look, if you're Penn State and you got this kid that's going to be a top 10 pick, you can't tell him to leave, right? You got to stick with that guy. They made the only choice they could make, but Drew Aller's going to be a better NFL quarterback than he is in college, I think. But Beau Pribula, he may never play in the NFL, but he is going to be a really good college quarterback. He fits a college offense and and now look, Drew Aller may also be a bust in the pros. I don't know, but I also I'm not sure it's all his fault. He didn't play defense on Saturday.
Yeah, very true.
Also, in the NFL, coaching matters, and if you get the right coaches guiding your ship, things can happen.
When a quarterback, when a coach never has the quarterback, eventually that's got to be the coach's fault, right? Mm-hmm. And you take guys like Kiffin, Drinkwitz. There's plenty of them that they always seem to have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Maybe it has something to do with the coaches.
Spot on.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the game this Saturday. The early game right after we eat our breakfast and take down our coffee. So we need to talk about the Missouri Tigers. I'll go first, and then Pettey will go after me. And whenever Marvin decides to bless us, we'll get him in the rotation somehow. So let's go ahead and get things started. So, Gabe, both teams pride themselves on running the ball, especially Alabama as of late. We found a resurgence. Jam Miller has just turned the offense around. We're actually balanced now, but also, too, both teams play disciplined football. Which team do you think can impose their will for 4 quarters in this game, Alabama or Missouri? Both teams do very well as far as clock management. How do you see that playing out?
So I think this is strength versus weakness in both cases when both teams have the ball. No secret what Missouri wants to do. They want to pound Ahmad Hardy, then they want to pound Jamal Roberts, and then they want Beau Pribula to take off every now and then. I forget if they're second or third in the country right now. Hardy's leading the country in rushing. And I don't know how much you guys have seen the kid play, but what makes him so good is Like, you think the play's over, and then you look up and go, well, why is he 3 yards ahead of where he was stopped? You know, he leads the country in missed tackles forced. He has more yards after contact than something like 33 teams have total rushing yards this year. So he's the guy that makes it go. And like, I'm not trying to say Alabama's run defense isn't any good, but if there's a weakness, that's what it is. They give up 227 to Florida State. They give up 230 to Georgia. Gave up 135 to Vandy, and I understand a lot of those came on 2 plays, but like, they still happened, right? At the end of the day, Vandy still averaged 7 yards a carry. So that's clearly what Missouri wants to do. Now, the flip side, and Jam Miller may end up being the key to this game, because I understand like their offense has looked a lot different in the last game and a half than maybe it did the first 2.5 or 3.5. But what makes Alabama, or seems to make Alabama go, from my perspective, is Ty Simpson and Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. And I mean, they've got weapons upon weapons upon weapons in the passing game. And that's Missouri's weakness. Like, they gave up 280 throwing to Jalen Daniels, including some big plays. They held South Carolina to negative rushing yards, but Lenora Sellers threw for 303. You know, and like the phrase we've adopted lately is Missouri plays the break but don't bend to defense. Like, they give up almost nothing. But when they give something up, they give up absolutely everything. It's like 90%, 95% of the plays go nowhere, but those other 5% are huge plays that lead directly to points. So, you know, I think either team's going to have to score 30 in this game. I could end up being wrong about that, but I think both teams can move the football, and I think both teams, what they want to do matches up with what the other team maybe doesn't do as well.
I got to ask you, is your running back got a little bit of Adrian Peterson DNA in him? Because honestly, that's what I see when I watch the kid run.
The guy he said he watched growing up was Marshawn Lynch. And I mean, if you like, I think Ahmad's only probably 5'8", 5'9". Like, he's not a big dude, but his thighs are absolute tree trunks. And you can tell, like, I mean, he would rather run a dude over than run around him. He had a 80-yard touchdown or something earlier in the year against Louisiana. That's probably not an 80-yard touchdown. I don't know that he can run away from Alabama's defense for 80 yards, right? But he will have no fear about taking on a linebacker or a safety and going straight through him. And like I said, he always picks up a couple more yards than you think. Like, his best runs are 1-yard runs that should have been 4-yard losses.
Pettey.
We kind of it talked about it a little bit, but and I'm gonna go kind of a more 36,000 foot view of this for Drinkwitz in the program. You know, Kiffin and Ole Miss get a lot of hype in this new era with the portal and what they've done. Heupel in Tennessee, Texas, now Texas Tech. But if you look what the last 31 games, or it may have after last week, maybe they're 26-4 or 26-5 the last 31 games. He's been one of the most consistent programs outside in the SEC. He's one of the top 4 or 5 programs in the SEC the last 4 or 5 years. But the knock, he has won the Ohio State game in Dallas in the ball game that year. But the question is winning the big SEC game, beating the Georgias, the Alabamas, is in this new era where Texas Tech, where you can do it. Is this the moment for Drink in Missouri? Is this, or does it, you know, it's just you play a good game, doesn't matter? I mean, he's still on the same pace, or is this kind of put him in that Kiffin Heupel light where he starts getting noticed like that, those guys, if he pulls off a win like this?
Yeah, this would be kind of a different level right now. Missouri has played, I think, bigger home games than this. They've played more important games than this, just because it's October 11th. Like, you could win this game and then go down to Auburn and get beat next week, and it doesn't matter, right? But we understand what comes with beating a team that the other helmet has that A on it, right? I mean, that's a little bit different. And Missouri's actually, like, they've had – I mean, he beat LSU in 2020, but it was the COVID year, and it was the year LSU kind of ended up, I think they were like 5-5 or something like that. They weren't any good, so that didn't end up carrying a lot of weight. But 2023, they had Georgia here, and they had Georgia down for 50 minutes. And Georgia ended up closing that one out. Same year, they played LSU with Jaden Daniels and took them to the last 4 minutes, and then honestly kind of ended up being the reason Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, because he beat them all by himself that day. And Missouri fans love that, because Jaden Daniels had committed to Missouri and then went to LSU when LSU came in. So that one stung a little bit. But then last year they go down to Georgia, and they were driving to take the lead with 4 minutes left, and Georgia had a big defensive lineman make a pick and ice the game. So they've been close, but there's a difference between almost doing it and doing it. Like you mentioned, Lane, Lane finally beat LSU this year. So he kind of had that knock for a long time, right? He beats all the we're talking about Penn State. It's the James Franklin. Yeah, they beat everybody they're supposed to, but when are they going to beat somebody they aren't supposed to? But the problem with that is, when you're 26-5, the only teams you're not supposed to beat are the teams that are playing for national titles. And the reason they're playing for national titles is they don't lose games, right? So he kind of could use the breakthrough, but I don't really think it's an insult that he hasn't quite done that yet.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned, Missouri is all about ball control. You guys are averaging 80 plays a game compared to your opponent's 50. That's elite ball control, man. So going into this game with Alabama, whose defense seems to find life in the second half of games, they've shut folks down. How sustainable is that tempo when you're going against an Alabama team, like I said, who is able to figure their warts out and all of a sudden transform into a team that honestly the ball can't be moved on?
Well, the interesting thing is it's not really, they're not averaging 80 plays because they go super fast or anything. They're not running the Josh Heupel or the Texas Tech type offense. They are something like third in the country in third down conversions and fourth in the country in third down defense. So, you have the ball 37 minutes a game because every time your opponent has a chance to get off the field, they don't. And every time you have a chance to get off the field, you do. And so what you end up with is your 13-play drive, and then they had a 4-play drive. And everybody, trust me, everybody understands Missouri has not done it against a team like what they're about to face. I think you can argue 7 of their 8 toughest games they haven't played yet. Kansas might be better than Arkansas, but that's debatable. They've had 3 scrimmages, a decent Kansas team and a South Carolina team that's not as good as they were supposed to be. So even Drinkwitz, the last 2 weeks, every time we've talked to him, hey, what do you think about this or how this guy played against UMass? Every time he just says, well, we'll find out. Somebody asked him today, what has stood out? What has made Ahmad Hardy so good? And he said, well, we'll see on Saturday. Good for him, but now this is the SEC. Can he keep doing against this team what he's done against the other teams? So even the guys inside the building understand that, hey, this is about to get a lot different. And I don't think they're going to have a 30-snap advantage in this game on Saturday.
And that's interesting. And I was going to ask a direct question, but I think I know what the strengths and weaknesses are of this game. So I'm going to give a little. We talked about this, but I'm going to give a little homage to Neil McCready. If the football gods came down and told you Alabama won this game, why do you think that would be? And on the flip side, Missouri won this game. What happened? What caused that? Where was the breakdown for Bama to win and the breakdown for Missouri to win?
Yeah, I think the way we always approach games is we just assume everybody's playing their A game, right? We do this all year. After 2 weeks, we look at teams and go, okay, well, we know what this team is, so here's what's going to happen the last 10 weeks. Look, if Bama comes in here and plays an A game, Missouri probably can't beat them. Because I think Bama's best is better than Missouri's best. I think the gap is closer than it's been. But if Alabama comes in, plays clean football, and plays an A game, I think they're going to walk out of here with a win. Now, the difference between this Missouri team and the Missouri team that Alabama fans are used to, and I understand if they haven't watched Missouri at all in the first 5 weeks, but fans' most recent memory of Missouri is probably 34-0 last year in a game that Missouri absolutely didn't belong on the football field with Alabama. And I really don't – I would be surprised with a game that's over in the third quarter. It's not impossible. But so the difference is if Bama comes in and plays a B game, I think Missouri is good enough to take advantage of it if they play well. And what I'm most interested to see, I mean, the smart thing to say is Missouri's path to victory is do what you do well, which is run the football, keep the ball away from Simpson, limit the number of possessions and all that. And that's possible, but Missouri has not had to do a lot offensively or defensively to win these first 5 games. Like, they haven't shown a lot. So I'm curious, like, eventually we're going to get a game, and it may be Kane Womack doing it on Saturday, where the opposing defensive coordinator says, I'm putting 7 or 8 guys at the line, and Ahmad Hardy is not winning this game for you. You're going to have to find another way. So I wonder, and this is the chess match, right? Does Kirby Moore come out and say, we know what we want to do, they know what we want to do, so we're going to start doing the opposite, and we're going to let Beau Pribula throw the ball a little bit in the first quarter. It could backfire, but, you know, that's the whole thing about these games, right? Is coming in and going, okay, do we zig when they zag, or do we think we're good enough at the first thing that we're just going to do it and make them stop it?
And you bring up a good point. Ahmad Hardy has been absolutely phenomenal. I love watching him. He's the prototypical back that when you think running back, and when kids are coming up, they say, I want to be that. He's that guy. He's leading the SEC in rushing, best in the country right now. Let's talk about if Missouri does get behind. He hasn't been really involved in the passing game. I think he has 1 catch out of the backfield this year. So if that were to happen, how does Drinkwitz adjust and get the ball in his hands? And if the game is put on his shoulders, where's your faith in him winning the game with his arm?
We don't really know, right? Like, we're all asking the same question. What happens when a good team makes him do that? Like, he threw for 335 against Kansas, and that's all well and good. But if you guys have watched the Big 12 at all, like, a lot of teams going to throw for 335 against those Big 12 defenses. So, so it's interesting when you say if they get behind. I think it depends on when, right? Because Missouri got down 21-6 to Kansas, and they did not go away from what they did. They just ran the football and said, look, we think, and there really wasn't a moment where you thought, oh, they're in big trouble. They were behind South Carolina, but it was never by multiple scores. So, like, if Bama jumps out 14-0 early second quarter, to me, Missouri can't panic and just have Beau start throwing the ball all over the field. Now, look, it's a different deal if you're talking it's 27-14 with 10 minutes left. Then you got to do things differently. And can Beau do that? Can he throw when they know they're throwing? You have no idea. But I thought the biggest issue, just kind of casually watching Vanderbilt, Alabama last week, was like, how do you win that game with 19 carries if you're Vanderbilt? Like, I understand you didn't have the ball much in the second half, but like, the running game was working to some degree. And I thought they went away from it too soon. I hate watching a coach who, you know, the excuse after the game is, well, we couldn't run, we were behind. Dude, it was a 7-point game in the third quarter. You could still run the football then.
We did that against Florida State. Ryan Grubb is still early in the game. We were down by maybe a few scores, but the game was still not out of hand, and the running game was working. Florida State had no answer for the running attack. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, forget all that. We're scrapping it, and we're going to go with an air raid offense with Ty Simpson, who that was his first legitimate start, and it kind of imploded on Alabama a little bit. Nothing against Ty's performance. I thought he did very well, all things considered, but there's something to be said about your point. You never abandon your true philosophy and the true heartbeat of your offense until you absolutely have to. You just play gritty, you play tough, and see what happens. And like you said, against Kansas, it happened. So I like that philosophy. Vanderbilt last week abandoned what got them to the win column, 5-0, before they came to us. You can't go into panic mode. Sorry, Pettey, I kind of went over my question time. Go ahead.
You should be sorry, Pastor.
I know.
Because now I've forgotten. No. Speaking of Ty, like, it's quite obvious this has become Ty's team. If you look beyond what he's done on the field, which he's been ripping it up. You go to Athens and do what he did. You know, we were kind of questioning that after the La Monroe game in Wisconsin. Like, okay, looking good against those guys is one thing, going to Athens is another, and then he did it. But you see what he's doing on the sideline. I feel like if I know you face Lenore Sellers. I know the kid at Kansas is a good dual threat, but I don't know if you faced a guy that with the passing attack quite like Bama. Do you feel like that's the biggest matchup, or the maybe what's keeping the Missouri coaching staff up at night the most, or is there another matchup you think's got them more worried?
No, I think that's it. I mean, they have given up big plays in the passing game. And it's happened largely because their safeties are really good linebackers. Like they love to come up and like Marvin Burks and Dalen Carnell will steal people's souls. They'll hit them so hard, but that's not really your job back there, right? Like I've joked, I've joked that Corey Batoon needs to go to his safeties and give him the Willie Mays Hayes treatment. Like when Willie Mays Hayes hit a pop up, he did 20 push-ups. So I said, if your safety makes a tackle in the run game, you tell him just drop right there, 20. I don't need you to do that. We've got a great run defense. I need you to keep your ass back there and not let anybody get, because like I think the most important thing for Missouri to get in this game is Alabama's going to make plays. Like you're not going to hold Alabama to 6 points and 180 yards, right? They're going to make plays. If they hit a pass, it's fine. Make it a 20-yard pass, not a 60-yard pass. Make them work for every, you can deal with an 8-play, 80-yard drive. They happen. Alabama's got a good offense. You don't want the 2-play, 80-yard drive, and I think that's been the biggest thing for Missouri is just the big plays. And so, yeah, I think that's the matchup certainly that Missouri coaches are probably worried about because the secondary is the question on this defense. I mean, I've been saying since August, Missouri's coaches think they might have the best front seven in the SEC. Now, I don't know if they do or not, but they think they're in the conversation. And so their way to do this defensively, whether it's blitzing or if you have to blitz, fine, but you have got to find a way to get Ty Simpson off schedule and uncomfortable in the pocket. Because I think I don't know if you guys would say the same thing about Simpson that I think about Beau Pribula. Like, I think we forget that these kids have started 5 games, man. Like, there's going to be a time for both of these teams where that guy looks like a guy who started for 6 weeks, and all of a sudden his team has to go win a game in spite of him not playing very well. So Missouri's goal is, hey, make that Saturday.
Absolutely. I agree. Great point. It's funny you say the front seven is your strength, but the back end is kind of what you're worried about. Well, it's the flip with us. We're still trying to figure out things in our front seven, more so our linebackers than anything, but secondary is where we're strong at. As far as Beau Pribula going against a legit secondary, this is really the first time he's going to go up against that. What kind of issues do you see them creating for him? I know you said you haven't really see his mettle tested yet because he hadn't had that. Where's your comfort level as he goes against arguably one of the better secondaries in the SEC?
Yeah, like, I hate to not answer the question at all, but like you just don't know until you see it, right? Sure. Like I've got to see him in a tough spot. The one thing, look, he's a competitive kid, and I think he has been told in these first 5 weeks, like, hey, don't really run until you have to run, right? I don't think that'll be the case on Saturday. Like, I think they will use his legs at designed runs, getting out of the pocket, whatever. I think they will use his legs as a weapon probably for the first time since the opener. And that helps. But look, he's got 3 straight games with a pick and hadn't been a very good pick, and Drink has been pretty open about it. He said it's mostly resulting from like he's climbing the pocket and he's going too far and he's getting himself in trouble. So he said like what they tell him is find the space you need, but don't find any more space than you need, right? Like take 2 steps. You can't, once you take 4, you're screwed because you're right up there against the defensive tackle. So he's got to work in the pocket a little bit better. And I think like Missouri just went 21-5 with Brady Cook at quarterback. And if you would have told Missouri fans 2 years ago that Brady Cook was winning 21 games and he would be on an NFL roster, they would have told you you've never watched a football game in your life. And I would have agreed with them. But Brady Cook's superpower was he did not beat his football team.
Nope.
Right. And Beau has to understand sometimes 3rd and 7, the best thing you can do is throw the ball to the band or take the sack, just get down, like live to fight another day rather than, so many of these kids they've been the best player on every team they've been on. And I'm going to make a play. Well, sometimes, man, the other team's got guys too now, and it's okay to just give up one to move on to the next one.
Hey, Brady Cook was a blue collar player. He had that Rocky Balboa gene. That's how he was able to be as successful as he was. Go ahead, Pettey.
How much longer we got you?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't want to spend all night with you. I'd like to eat dinner and walk my dogs.
No, I mean,
I'm not on a time limit.
Oh, I thought we had you for like 30 minutes. I didn't know if you were about to have to.
No, you're fine.
Okay, well, because man, I'm a jog thoughts today. I was thinking of Fitz, and because I'm a big fan of Drinkwitz. I think he's, again, one of maybe the most underrated coaches in college football. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is getting the publicity, and I'm just missing it. But I think he vastly doesn't get the notoriety he should for what he's done at Missouri. But I think fits matter, and I want to ask how comfortable. And when you said fits matter, like you can get, if you're a 34 Gene and you go buy a pair of 36 or 28 Armanis, it don't matter if they're $300, they're going to look stupid on you. You know, North Carolina went and bought a pair of 40s Armani jeans that are 71 years old, and the shit's falling off and falling apart. It just don't work. But you look at places like, and I mean, there's more examples of that where you hire a coach at LSU. I think, you know, that doesn't, the Brian Kelly thing does not work down there. But it seems like Drink fits. But, you know, when you start doing things like Lane does at Ole Miss or wherever, you start bringing programs like Ole Miss and Mizzou up, people come calling. How comfortable is Drink at Mizzou? And, you know, is that, because I think that's a great fit between the two. And, you know, in an era where coaches don't say everybody leaves, how long do you see him staying? Or do you feel like other programs are eventually going to come trying to steal him?
Oh, they're going to try. I mean, he's going to get a call from Florida. I don't. If Florida makes the move with Billy Napier, he will get a call. He's on their list, and I have reason to believe he might be on top of their list. You know, but 5 years ago, there was no question. You asked 100 coaches which job's a better job, Florida or Missouri. They're all saying Florida, and probably more than 50 would still say Florida. But Eli Drinkwitz makes $9 million a year here. They're doing a $250 million stadium expansion. They were, and this is not an exaggeration, the first school in the country to understand what NIL was going to be. They were the first one that wrote a state law that said we can pay our kids, and the NCAA and the SEC can't come in and say anything about it. And now everybody in America has that law. The donors love him. If he asks for something, he gets it. And here's the thing about coaching at Missouri. You go 8-4, 9-3 every year. You will never have to answer to anyone for your job. They will build a statue of you outside this stadium for going 9-3 every year. Right. You go to Gainesville, Florida, and you go 9-3 every year. In year 3, they're calling you and saying, this ain't good enough. You're Jim McElwain. Get out. You know, so I think all that stuff and fit is important too. Like 2 years ago, if you'd asked me this question, I said Eli's gone the first time he wins 10 games. Like, I think when he got here, he thought he was too big time for this program. I really do. I don't think he would obviously ever publicly admit that, but that's just always the feeling I got. But he went through a couple struggles his first 2 or 3 years, and he figured it out. Like, he is so much better of a coach and so much better of a program builder than he was when he got here 6 years ago. And the thing about him is he is this guy who has gone on ESPN and called himself the biggest dork in college football. He did not, like, he didn't play high school football, or he played high school football, didn't play college football. Like, he's not supposed to be a big-time SEC football coach, right? Well, he's at the program, and then everybody says he's not supposed to be a big-time SEC football program. It's a pretty good match, and I think he knows it. So I'm not going to tell you he's going to retire here. But 5 years ago, there probably would have been 30 or 35 jobs that could have taken him from here. I'd say now that number's probably closer to 10 or 12.
Good answer. I agree. And I agree with that as well. I think people overvalue the Florida job because of what 2 coaches did. They hired 2 Hall of Fame coaches that won a lot of football games. Outside of that, you know, you've had Dan Mullen, who did pretty good, and then they ran him when it fell apart. And then, like you said, Jim McElwain, who had a better winning percentage than what Billy's done. It's not the program people think it is. And Missouri, actually, where they don't think it is a little bit more with it. Like you mentioned, they were ahead of the game in the NIL, and that meant something. Bama fans, it kind of was a shock for this program because we got a pass at Alabama because of Nick Saban, right? You got the Nick Saban drop because kids were like, okay, we'll take a little bit of a cut because we can go look at your wall and see all the guys you put in the NFL, right? Well, that made it where the boosters didn't have to put together the NL package right out of the gate that other programs were starting to put together. So it kind of put Bama a little bit behind the 8 ball. As soon as Saban walks out of the door, you had to scramble and kind of figure it out, which for the lucky, when you're a program like Alabama, you can kind of rely on the name and the recruiting on that some to bounce back. But again, that's why you see 8 teams, like you mentioned, to come full circle. While there's 8 teams in the SEC right now that you fully believe, like, all right, any of these 8 could make it to Atlanta or make it to the playoffs.
All right, real quick. He's finally here, folks. 36 minutes and 55 seconds in.
I hope that
the 1999 All-SEC linebacker when Ric Flair said to be the man, woo, you got to beat the man. Ladies and gentlemen, he's still that man. Welcome in, Marvin Constant.
Hey. And to be clear, I've been here for a while, so let's not act like I hadn't been sitting backstage. Everybody seen me say RTR in the chat a while ago. So let's be very clear. And to answer the question at hand, he would be crazy to leave Mizzou, giving the expectations. If he were to go to a Florida, if he were to go to a LSU, there ain't no way in hell I would leave the friendly confines of Mizzou, where if I win 9-10 games regularly, nobody's bothering me. There ain't no way in hell. You're making $9 million a year. The top coaches in the nation are making, $10 million a year. So it's not like you're far off. So are you going to leave for money or are you going to leave for stupidity? You tell me.
I'll say this, man. I talk to him a lot. Eli's a lot of things, but he isn't stupid. I know that much.
And listen, we all know the stresses and pressures of coaching college football. If I can make the same amount of money as the top of the line coaches with a third of the stress that they deal with, hell, sign me up.
And if he comes to Missouri and says, "Hey, the guy in Florida is offering me $11 million," they'll go, "All right, do you need $11 million to stay? We'll find $11 million." Like that, they'll do it.
Well, here's the thing about it. I wouldn't even be pressed about finding $2 more million. $9 million, a third of the stress that people at Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, LSU are dealing with. Again, do I need to give you $1 million back to keep me?
Here's the story I've always wanted to do. How the hell do you spend $9 million a year in Columbia, Missouri, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or especially when you get a free car, a free golf membership, and all your clothes are free? What do you spend your money on?
You don't, because when you think about it, I think it's for every million, it makes a little over $4,000 a month in interest any damn way. So you're making so much money per month off interest, probably a good $40,000 or $50,000 a month in interest, which is another $600,000 a year, which is going to give you another $2 million in another year and a half. So now you're making even more money. So that's my whole point. Why do you need more money at this point?
Hugh Freeze can.
Then you get fired, and they give you $35 million to do nothing.
Absolutely.
Hugh Freeze can show you how to spend that money real quick.
We got to press pause,
baby.
We got to press pause in the action real quick to talk about one of our sponsors, Marvin Constant. Tell the folks what they need going to Missouri.
Hey man, listen, they have been on full display the past few weeks. We got to keep the momentum going. You better show up with your title towels, baby. Visit whitwillsports.com. Use the promo code the Bama Standard for your 10% off discount, baby. And tell them you support the Tide and we sent you, because I'm telling you now, I expect great things in Missouri this week. We took some steps the last few weeks. I expect to see us take one gigantic one this week, baby. And this is the perfect place to take it. So I expect our defense to get a lot of pressure up front, stacks. And every time we get that sack, baby, you better have that title towel waving.
Very well done. All right, Marvin.
Tony Collins said you have an ex-wife. That's how.
Huh?
That's how you lose the money.
How you lose that kind of money.
Oh.
Our 27-year-old girlfriend when you're 90.
Dang. Well, we only have him for a few more minutes. Marvin, since you are now here, we'll leave the last few minutes with Gabe for you. What questions do you have for him, and more importantly, Missouri?
What would it mean for Drinkowitz in the Missouri program to get a win over Alabama? What does that do for his legacy and the program of Missouri as a whole?
Simpsons did it.
Like, tell me what happens the next 6 weeks, right? Like it's it's a big deal. But if you lose to Auburn and Oklahoma and A&M and you're 9-3, nobody really like, hey, remember that time we beat Alabama? Like, yeah, that's cool, but it doesn't. This team, the next level for this team is to make the playoff, and that is 10-2. And I don't think it matters which the two are. Like, yeah, if you beat Bama, it helps because now you just got to go 4-2 in your last 6. But like, the good thing about this playoff era is they can lose again as long as they don't get blown off the field like they did last year. Like, they lose a game by 2 touchdowns to Alabama and they go 5-1 in their last 6. They're still getting it. You go through this SEC 10-2, you're getting it. So that's really what he's going to be judged on, more so than I think. Now, look, if this week kind of springboards them and they're 11-1 and they're in Atlanta, then I think obviously it takes him to, that's where he doesn't get to go in and request more money. That's when he gets to go in and say, this is how much you are paying me next year, but no, it's like every other game. Like I did I covered Gary Pinkel for a long time here. And when they had kind of their big breakout season in 2007, like every week it was like, hey, is this the biggest game you've ever played? And he said, look, this is the biggest game for now. And if you win it, then next week's the biggest game. And that's the way all these programs that are chasing this playoff are at this point.
Well, let me ask you this. Who's going to be the catalyst to Mizzou potentially giving us a run?
Ooh.
I mean, I always like to take the quarterback out of this because, like, you're not winning this game if your quarterback doesn't play well, right? Like, I don't think Alabama can win the game if Ty Simpson comes in and throws for 180 yards and 3 picks. Like, your quarterback has to be at least decent, but I think it's twofold. I mean, it has to be Ahmad Hardy, but on the other side, it's the defensive line. Like, they've got to find a way to get Simpson either on the ground or at least, off schedule, because the edge in the secondary versus the receivers goes to Alabama, and it's not all that close. So, like, they've got to find a way to make him throw the football before he wants to throw the football. And I think the guy that you look at is Damon Wilson, who is, the Georgia transfer. He's second in the country in pressure rate this year. And I think Zion Young on the other side is about 5th in the country. So those are the guys that have to make it happen.
Can I piggyback off of that? Gabe, he talking about the catalyst. Who is one underrated player or maybe even a matchup Alabama fans might not be talking about but should be watching closely on Saturday? We talked a little bit before. Jamal Roberts, he's a good runner too. He don't go down easy. Matter of fact, he's averaging 7.3 yards per carry. But yeah, who's the underrated player or matchup that we need to be looking at?
I think it's Brett Norfleet, their tight end. He got hurt a lot in the first 2 years, and I have said, like, I'm a longtime Kansas City Chiefs fan, so I have seen some decent tight ends. Like, what takes an offense from good to great is a really good tight end. If you have an elite tight end, you've got a chance to be special. And Northfleet finally has managed to stay on the field. He's got 5 touchdown catches this year. He was a D1 baseball player until he hurt his shoulder in high school. So he's an athlete, and I think he's the guy that, hey, if you're in 3rd and 4, right, and they cover Kevin Coleman in the slot, who's that guy who can give you another outlet? Now, the key to that is you got to protect the quarterback well enough so you don't have to keep your tight end to protect, right? If you're keeping your tight end to protect and only sending 3 guys in a route, that gets a lot tougher.
That, and we need to stay out of cover 2. Please, because we suck at cover 2. Stay out of it.
Forever. Petty.
Man, I think I've got them all in. Should we put him on the spot and make a prediction so all the Bama fans can get fired up with him?
Well, we can do that. Marvin, do you have one last question?
None of these people know who I am. I'm never going to talk to him
I'll
again.
let Marvin ask a final question, then we'll put him on the spot.
Ask a final question, Marvin, and then Petty can put him under the spotlight.
Well, again, going into this game, we know what the deficiencies have been on our team. I haven't seen a run game yet from Missouri, one that I feel like will be a threat to our defense. How do you feel like Missouri's run game can achieve the same successes that others have in the past, like the Vandy's and the Florida States? Because we have to figure out how to stop whatever comes at us. But I haven't seen anything yet that says, hey, this is going to be a perennial run power?
I mean, Ahmad Hardy is leading the country in yards after contacts, and touchdowns. I think he's the best running back I've seen in the SEC so far. I think he's going to end up 1,200, 1,500 yards this year. Here's the number that I think is the key for Missouri. I think he needs 25 touches. I don't care what the yardage number is. 25 touches for him tells me we're hanging on to the football, we're efficient, we're doing what we want to do, and we're sticking with the run game. If he touches the ball, and most of his touches are going to be in the run game because Roberts is the third down in the passing game back. But if he gets 25 touches, I'm going to feel real good about Missouri's chances to win this game. If he's down under 20, I'm not sure Missouri can win.
All right, Pettey, put him underneath the heat lamp.
Man, I'll be honest, Gabe. I now that Marvin I'm on a show with Marvin, I've got another gambling buddy, but I look at lines. Lines mean a lot to me, and I'm big into Vegas knows what they're doing. They don't pay for those twinkly lights out of their own pocketbooks. And when the line pops out, 2.5, 3.5, it Bama's favor, that gets my attention. What's your predictions, man? I think this is. I'll be honest. If you're a Bama fan, you're not worried about this. You're a little overconfident. I think that 11 JP game is the trap spot of our life growing up here in the SEC. You're going on the road. You got Tennessee next week. You've just played 2 slobber knockers on the road at Athens and a big one at game day with Vanderbilt. Regardless if the name Vanderbilt's that get there, that was a big emotional game for Bama last week. How do you see this one play? That's the long drawn out intro to let you. How do you see this?
Hold on though, before you answer. JJ Vickery Music says Marvin hasn't studied Vandy. They are a running machine every game. Look at who they've played. When I say I hadn't seen anything that would say they're going to be a perennial power running the ball, they hadn't played anybody yet. So no, I'm not going to say that they're going to be a perennial power running the ball yet. Show me against real competition, and I will acknowledge you as being a perennial power at running the ball.
No, absolutely fair. Like they haven't done it against anybody. Like they're going to face not just Saturday, but most of the last 7 weeks yet. But no, I think, literally almost nothing. It will surprise me if Missouri wins this game by 3 touchdowns. Don't get me wrong. But short of that, nothing would surprise me. I mean, I always preface this anytime I do a prediction. Like, I understand what people think when somebody that covers the other team comes on a podcast like this, right? Because so many people who do what I do, all they are is a fan with a microphone. Like they speaking with their heart. Hey,
you're not.
My guys, I'm telling you guys, the only thing people at Missouri are proud of is their journalism school, and we've been trained for 800 years.
Very good.
You're not a fan. Right. So the people who pay my salary want me to be a bigger fan all the time. They get mad at me. Hey, quit this objective crap. All these other schools in the SEC got these talking about our boys going down with the coach, so do a little more of that. All that to say, I'm picking Missouri. I don't know how much I believe it. I'm picking Missouri somewhere in the neighborhood of 29, 26, 27, 24. I think, and this goes back to before Bama would have followed Missouri. But in 2010, Oklahoma came here. They were the number 1 team in the country. Missouri was good. It was 15th, 18th, something like that. And it was this perennial power that Missouri could never beat. Always big brother, and not even big brother. It was like the stepdad that just beat the piss out of him for 60 years. And so it had never happened. Well, that Oklahoma team was ranked number 1, but it wasn't quite vintage Oklahoma, right? And I don't know if you guys would disagree with this. I think Alabama is a really good football team. I think what Alabama doesn't have that it had 5 years ago was teams aren't scared to death and convinced they're going to lose when Alabama steps off the bus, right? There came a day when Tiger Woods walked out in the red shirt on Sunday and people would go, yeah, but that's not 2000 Tiger Woods. I can beat that guy. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that psychological advantage, not advantage, but lack of a psychological disadvantage matters. I don't think every time Missouri's played Alabama in the SEC, Alabama has ended the game in the first quarter. It was over because Eddie Lacy ran for a 75-yard touchdown in 2012. That game was over one play in, and I don't think there's that fear factor. I think this is a Missouri team that can handle it. And it's also a team that, like, if they get in a one-score game, they've won almost all of them over the last 3 years. So I'm picking them to do it, and I'm willing to look stupid if I'm wrong because, again, whatever. You guys aren't going to have me back on here next week to defend myself, so I don't care.
We're bringing – I mean, it's going to be like Game of Thrones. Shane, I mean, you got to walk through the street.
That's when the second appearance is when I asked for payment. So.
Got you. Well, and Gabe, I don't think you're that far off, and I think that what Bama's experiencing now is what you've done for 16 years under Nick Saban, and you've created that monster. Every time you play a team, they're still playing you up to that standard, and if Bama doesn't meet that standard, they're in trouble, right? Well, that's the problem of the new world, and one of you talk about the fear factor, maybe, or that psychological, because teams did lose a lot of times before they ever ran through the tunnel in Tuscaloosa. But it's because now they've got Bama guys on their team. You said it. You've got 2 Georgia defensive linemen on your team. You've got the guys that have been on those programs are now not just sitting there waiting their turn or waiting to maul you in the third and fourth quarter. You're going at them for 4 quarters with that. So it does make it a little more competitive. So again, I know I will vouch for you. I've watched you for years. Like I said, on the greatest pod in the South, it was one of the greatest pods I've ever listened to, humor-wise. But you're far from a homer for your program. And look, man. If you give Bama, make them go to Hogwarts and take the Veritas serum, and they're not truthful. I mean, yeah, they Bama's always going to be. We're Bama. We're going to show up. If we show up, we're going to kick some ass. But you give the Veritas serum, I think someone like, holy hell, this is a scary spot right here, man. It's that noon game on the road, a very good football program, and this is kind of a new world. This is a scary spot. So I don't think, again, trying to give you a little after throwing you under the spotlight and making you pick your team, you damn homer. I'm giving you a little break.
Appreciate it, guys.
I remember that game too you were speaking about, and also don't forget Chase Daniel always made life hell for Oklahoma. So. They had that
game against Oklahoma. That game against Oklahoma, Missouri returned the opening kickoff 86 yards for a touchdown. So if Missouri does that on Saturday night, then the parallels are really there.
And there's some matchups with Kansas back in that day, and no Fat Man Gino that were so good.
Absolutely, man. Gabe, I know we kept you over time. We greatly appreciate you and your time and your perspective. You've definitely given us a lot to think about heading into the game Saturday. Before you head out, tell folks how they can find you. You're part of PowerMizzou.com. You're also part of 247 Sports. But take the baton. Tell the folks how they can find you.
Yeah, PowerMizzou.com, PowerMizzou.com on Twitter, because way back when I made the account, I didn't know how to put a dot in there. You go to search Missouri 24/7 will pop up there, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. So anybody that subscribes to that can read our message board and our stories already, and come make fun of us for being wrong when Alabama wins on Saturday morning.
Well, I just need to give my prediction, and I really got to go. I have a pressing work issue I need to deal with.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give your prediction.
Alabama 27, Mizzou 17. I think our defense gets a little better, but I still see us giving up at least 17 to Mizzou.
Good pick.
All right, get back to that fire sale baby gap, Marm.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
All right, absolute honor. Pettey, and then there was us, right?
Man, and then there were 2. Our Wolfpack became less.
I don't know what analogy we could use at that point, but hey,
we got some questions from our lovely audience.
We do got questions from the audience, and hey, folks, stay with us. I don't want the numbers to dip at all. I know we're not quite as appealing. Well, Pettey is.
It won't be as good as Marvin's flex, but not many are. I don't think his muscles are real. I think that's why he wasn't here tonight. They had deflated. He had to go get them pumped back up.
Well, there's also a lot of AI going on. I've tuned into TikTok here lately, and I've seen a lot of craziness. But listen, before we get to the audience Q&A, I'd hope Marvin would have been here so we could get X Factors versus Missouri. But this is where we're at right now. And since it's just me and you, Pettey, tell me your X factor. I'll give you 30 seconds to a minute. What's the ultimate X factor for Alabama to be able to go into Missouri and win?
The offensive line to continue its progression as it has through the weeks. We talk about the secondary, which I think is one of the best in the SEC and one of the best in the country. Offensive lines across the nation have become a weak point. So if you've got a strength there, especially with some of these good defensive lines, it's given you an edge. And man, the last couple of weeks, this offensive line with Proctor and moving Formby inside, it's working. And Carroll's becoming the guy we kind of expected him to. You just see it starting to gel. If this offensive line keeps progressing and giving Ty the time he's had these last couple of games, Alabama wins.
I love it. I'm going to get mine simple, Pettey. I think that you'll probably agree once I tell them to you. My two X factors. One, Alabama's got to start out fast. We can't go in there in a haze like we did, similar to what we saw first half versus Vanderbilt. We need to see something similar to what we saw when we went into Athens. Just right out the gate, hair on fire, strike hard, strike fast, no mercy, sir. But also, too, we got to finish drives with touchdowns. We're leaving a lot of points on the field. Last week, we should have beaten Vandy by a lot more than what it showed on the scoreboard. We either came away with nothing or we came away with field goals. Thankfully, Vandy didn't have what it took to really capitalize on that. But against Missouri on the road, regardless of what you think about them, when you have the opportunities in the red zone, you got to capitalize. And when you also have the opportunity to put a team away and take their soul from them, you've got to do it. Those are my two biggest things. It's not necessarily players, not necessarily plays. It's those things right there. All right, one last thing, Pettey, and then we will go on to our Q&A. I know I teased it, but who's that one player Alabama can't win without on Saturday?
Oh, wow. The one player Bama can't win without on Saturday. Ty Simpson. Is that too easy? Ty.
No.
Ty's the man right now. If Ty goes down, oh shit.
Absolutely. Gotta go
Jimmy
with Ty.
Clay, what's up, buddy? Yes, man. I'm getting shots. I will eat crow. The Manning, look, Arch's DNA had done well. It ran out with the namesake. It is not looking good, but Ty is looking good, and it's Ty, man. Ty's what's taking this team to the next level. Let's be real. Ty's play is what makes this a not just a playoff, but an SEC title and national contender right now. And it's got to be Ty, man. He's special. We can make some. We can talk about jam. And I said the offensive line linebackers are going to have to. This is a lunch pail game for 10, and he played a great game. I think he had 14 tackles against Vanderbilt, and he had the big strip. But here comes, I think, even a bigger test. Look, Pribula and Hardy are so much better than Dimebag, Diego, and whoever the hell their running back was. This is a better offense to me coming downhill. So the test is really going to be on 10 and them to have a day. So you can't do it without Ty. You're really going to need to do it with those guys. So maybe that goes back to the X factors. I should have done that with the offensive line as the linebackers.
No, excellent point. Yeah, you can't do it without Ty, but you absolutely have to do it with Deontay and Justin Jefferson playing arguably their best game of the season.
And Jefferson played great ball last week. So let's get, Jefferson had a little game last week. I expect him to step up,
Absolutely. I mean, his play where he forced the ball out of Diego Pavia's hands turned the entire game around. There's always those plays that shape the outcome of the game. There were a few of them. That was the main one that really got Alabama in the right direction. All right, we've spent enough time talking ourselves. We're going to talk to the audience.
You're right. I didn't think somebody could make Meth Head Manziel look like the worst person to come through as a quarterback in the SEC until Dimebag Diego did the shit he did Saturday. I've never seen a kid deserve to get what he got more than that dude. Sorry. My last. I saw a comment.
All right, let's get to the audience. First of all, Jennifer Stovall, thank you for becoming a new member. We're glad to have you a part of the family. Hang out with us a while. I think you'll like where you're at. If you ever need anything from us, feel free to ask and throw it in the audience, the live chat. Hey, we're going to bring it up as you see. All right. Tough as nails is starting things out. Pettey, what's your opinion on James Smith sealing the next Quinnen Williams? Can we say that?
That's a big ceiling, but let's just say his ceiling's NFL stud. I mentioned this on our post game. I saw a look in that kid's eyes Saturday night that I haven't seen from a defensive lineman at Alabama in a long time, and that's the I want to murder every MFer that's standing in front of me right now, and it got me kind of excited. I'm not going to lie. So Smith's ceiling is NFL stud. That's his ceiling. He's that guy. He's a dude.
I'll say that the
People like
defense. I'll say the defense is not the same without him at all. We
No,
saw in the first half against Vanderbilt the equilibrium of the defense was way off, missing him, coupled with Clay Rusall being out as well. But as soon as you put James Smith back into the lineup in the second half, the defense looked completely different. So he's a difference maker. You got to have him in the lineup. Now, can he be as good as Quinnen Williams? Man, that's really to be determined, right? It's hard. I mean, Quinnen Williams is kind of one of the ceilings, the top tier dudes, along with Deron Payne and a few of our other famous guys that are still making a living in the NFL. So let's go to the next one. And tough as nails, back to back. Is Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. going to be starting at some point? He's getting better.
I don't know if he's going to be starting, but he's getting more. He's working himself more and more into playing time in the rotation. It's a good thing to have that depth again. We keep talking about the reason Bama's not the same Bama is because the depth, but we're actually if you look at the secondary, it's building. So I don't know. The secondary's playing well, but I would like to see him play more because I'm a big fan of that kid.
Honestly, until Clay Rusall comes back, you're going to see a whole lot more because Bray's having to come up and be that hangover guy outside of the linebacker. So you're going to see a lot more of him, and he's getting more and more confidence every game. I love what we're seeing from him. I love how he hits. Hey, if he gets thrown out for a penalty, it's because he's hitting the way the old school guys used to hit. I like that kid. All right, Joe Edwards, how good is Missouri's offensive line? Well, right now they have the best run back in the country, and they're opening the holes for him, and that isn't by accident. I mean, look, only Barry Sanders is the running back that was able to run without an offensive line. And I think in this situation, Missouri's got a pretty damn good one. All right. Thank you, Joe Edwards. Tough as nails. We ran the ball better left. Did anyone notice that against Vanderbilt? I saw a noticeable difference in the way we ran the ball to the left side. Caden Proctor seems to be turned on and living up to that NFL potential. I am nervous to say that because he's been inconsistent up until the past few games. But yeah, there's a big difference in that side of the line, especially Cam Dewberry. That dude's been a road grader. So that duo right there is making it happen.
Dewberry's, not to keep using the word, but he's kind of an animal. He's a road grader.
All right, so Don Parker, my question for the panel: why can't Bama defend the shovel pass?
Because they don't know it's coming. It catches them off guard every damn time, I guess.
They fall for the eye candy.
I don't know because there is a defense to it. You see it get blown up all the time, but I'll say this. It didn't hurt us Saturday like it did a year ago when we faced them, but it still had its moments where it caught them off guard. God knows, man. I don't know if it's the eye discipline, kids not filling the hole. I haven't, I don't do the all 22. I would have to talk to somebody that's done the all 22 that really dives into that side of it. Maybe Teague's Take will dive into that. So I don't know, Don. I know every time it happened, I could just hear every Bama fan internally scream.
You mentioned Teague's Take. It wasn't on last night. Actually, they'll be on tonight at 8:15. So check them out after us. Watching film, breaking down the things that we didn't see. It's always a good time with George and JT.
Don, I would love to answer that, but that's where I'm not going to pretend with you guys. I know football like all of us. I can break down. I can be funny and give quips or insights, but I know enough but that's where Teague's take is so good. Go in there and ask Teague that, and I guarantee he'll give you a very solid answer to that question. So check Teague out.
I'll let you take this one, Pettey, and I'll take the next one. Guys, my question is, how many points will Bama need if Missouri runs for 200 yards?
So if Missouri runs for 200 yards, that means they're controlling the clock, guys. And if they're doing 200, they're also getting it into the red zone and putting up points. And what that does is put pressure on your offense to score pretty much every time they get the ball and do it kind of quick because the clock's been ate up. You know, even if it's 200, that could lend more to a lower scoring than a high scoring, where you would need to answer every time and still put up 28. But I mean, I don't know, man. Our defense is definitely gotten better. Pribula hasn't faced a secondary that's been playing this good, but this may be our secondary's best test. There's some weapons on that offense, and again, this may be the most balanced offense we've faced. Guys, I could see this being the game they expected of Vanderbilt last week, 42-35 type shootout, and we're all, eating the Pepsi. Sorry.
Last question, Damon. Bama boy Davis. Justin, your thoughts on the musical chairs on the offensive line still experimenting? My thoughts is, explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, why this is still going on. We've played 5 games going into the 6th game, and we're still experimenting. Okay, the Michael Carroll experiment, that's settled. He's that guy at right tackle. No problem from him. We're better with him. My question is why is Gino Vandermark and sometimes Wilkin Formby playing right guard instead of Jaden Roberts, who arguably is playing better and does play and has played better than those two guys? And when I watch the film from last week and I see those two guys I just mentioned getting their asses handed to them, my question is, where is Jaden Roberts? What's the answer to the question? Jaden Roberts was a preseason All-SEC, preseason All-American, was also a preseason name on a list of several awards. So did he just forget how to football? Make it make sense. And there doesn't need to be any more rotation at all. The line needs to be set. That chemistry needs to be there, because if you're still trying to figure things out at this point in the game, it could eventually bite you in the butt. So figure it out, coaches, and don't give us a Sunday school answer when we ask why it's happening. Pettey, we've gotten to the end, but before we go, I want you to tell the folks how they can find you on social media.
You can find me at Pettey_Daniel on X, Twitter, and you can find me at Daniel Pettey on Facebook. Send me a like. I'll probably, or a friend request. I'll more than likely, unless you look like some serial killer, friend you back. And then give me some social follows. I'm getting more active on that stuff, talking crazy on the X. But man, you can find me here on Tuesday nights, and I will be on the Final Whistle also in an hour. But check us out there. But also check out Tig Steak. It's going to be great tonight. That's it, man. Oh, and you can find me usually, I won't be there this week, but usually on the post game. Sorry, I meant to let you know that pre-show.
Well, everybody knows the same time I do. All right.
Wait, hold on. My first Denny Dog was a letdown at the ULM game, Benjamin. What happened? Did it say Denny Dog? I got to ask a question. I haven't been to a game this season yet. Does it still say Denny Dog once you get in the stadium, and then when you get there, it's just a plain hot dog? I mean, if you can answer that, I would appreciate it.
I got to address one question from Kenneth, or statement from Kenneth Lake. Could be attitude. If you're referring to Jaden Roberts, got to disagree there. There is no guy who bleeds Bama more than Jaden Roberts on that team, other than Ty Simpson, Tim Keenan III. This guy bleeds and dies for Alabama. His work ethic is like no other. You'll never have to question his want to. You never had to question his loyalty. He's going to give you 150% to 200% every single day of the week. So that is definitely not in the question at all. And we have a super chat that snuck in. Don Parker, $5. What happened to the Bama defensive player that took the Mizzou player to Suplex City years ago? He did make Brock Lesnar proud.
Oh, man, I remember that. Who was that?
He's actually at Michigan now. That
Really?
was Damon Payne.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. All right. So we got to get out of here. Hey, follow us on all the socials. We have them scrolling here on the ticker. We appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. If there aren't any Missouri fans in the live chat, we greatly appreciate you coming to our side of the fence. We're not as bad as you think, or at least we're not. I can't speak for everybody, but we're excited to be a part of everyone's life that was in here tonight. Stay tuned for more. Again, Teague's Take tonight at 8:15 p.m. Central. And then we'll be back for the post-game show immediately following Alabama versus Missouri. And I fully expect everyone to be there. And next week, we need a packed house here Tuesday night because it's the third Saturday in October. Don't have to say anything besides that. That'll do it for us.
Let's go take care of Mizzou and then come back and get ready for those Vols.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, guys.